The boy had a pair of magical appraisal eyes. He could see the latent talents of others. For example, this soldier who was spinning his spear. Jack noticed that he had great potential as an archer, but in other areas he was completely hopeless, because he had trained in the wrong field. He had always ranked among the worst soldiers. To test his appraisal eyes, Jack asked if he knew how to use a bow and arrow. He learned that the soldier disliked ranged combat, because he believed sneak attacks were ungentlemanly, so he had never even touched a bow. Jack suggested he give archery a try, though he didn't want to. Jack was the future lord of the land after all, so the soldier reluctantly agreed to try. Since it was his first time shooting a bow, his companion suggested he stand a bit closer, but Jack immediately vetoed that, insisting that the soldier shoot from where he stood. The soldier obeyed the command, aimed at the target and let the arrow fly, but the moment the arrow hit, everyone was stunned, thinking it was just a fluke. They insisted that the soldier try again. To their surprise, he didn't miss a single shot. Every arrow hit the bullseye. It was clearly no coincidence. Seeing this, everyone strongly encouraged the soldier to become an archer instead. After all, his spear skills were awful. Seeing how much everyone believed in him, the soldier finally came around. On the battlefield, only life and death matter anyway. At that moment, someone noticed Jack and wondered how he could spot the soldier's archery talent. Jack quickly claimed it was just a gut feeling. Jack was actually very curious about his own talents. Unfortunately, his appraisal only worked on others. He couldn't see his own attributes. Still, Jack was content. He was born into a rural noble family. The local lord was his father. Not only did they live in an impressive house, they also had many servants at home. But after reading many books, Jack realized his future was far from promising. It turned out the empire he lived in was deeply corrupt. Peasant rebellions were happening all over, yet the state turned a blind eye. Jack sensed that if things continued this way, a massive war would break out in the empire, and in such troubled times, he would need soldiers of his own. His father soon discovered that Jack had the ability to discover talented individuals. He told Jack to sharpen that skill well. It would be crucial for his future as a lord. Jack kept that in mind. He also secretly used his appraisal on his father, and he was immediately shocked. His father's talents were unbelievably high. If the archer soldier's talent was rated B, his father had both A and even S level talents. His combat strength was an astonishing 94. He had heard tales that his father could take down 10 soldiers alone, but now it seemed that was an understatement. One day he disguised himself and went into the city streets. He began wildly using his appraisal on the crowd. Yes, this was all for the sake of the future. He intended to start scouting talent right away, but after multiple appraisals, not only did he fail to find any talent, he also discovered that his appraisal eyes had limits. Overuse made his eyes sore. Just then, the shopkeeper's words, along with the man's skin tone, made Jack realize the man was a Margan. Margans were mostly slaves. As a result, their social status was extremely low, but Jack couldn't help feeling pity. He offered the man a piece of bread. Lisa initially wanted to refuse, but seeing Jack's sincere eyes, and feeling his genuine hunger, he decided to accept it. While he was eating the bread, Jack used his appraisal on him. He was shocked to find that the man had 3 S-level talents. They were cavalry, fortification, and strategy. Although his combat strength was only 70, his leadership was a staggering 99. At that moment, Jack knew he had to recruit him. After finishing the bread, Lisa chose to take his leave. He didn't want to cause trouble for Jack because of his identity, but Jack followed Lisa around like a shadow, until they arrived at a small alley. Jack directly asked Lisa if he would become his retainer. As Lisa stood stunned, Jack quickly revealed that he was the son of the local lord. He was interested in Lisa because of his impressive talents, but Lisa said bringing him back would only bring trouble. He thanked Jack and turned to leave, just as Jack didn't know how to stop him. Lisa's stomach growled at the wrong time. Jack quickly offered to treat him to a meal. This gesture moved Lisa. Lisa realized Jack wasn't joking. He really was the son of the local lord, and just as promised, he was served a delicious meal. But Jack hadn't expected that his father would demand Lisa be kicked out. Jack had no choice but to explain that Lisa had exceptional talent. Just like before, it was more than a hunch. He was confident about it. Hearing this piqued the lord's interest. He decided to test Lisa. If he could pass the test, he would be hired as a foot soldier, although he would start as a mere soldier. Jack knew, with Lisa's talent, a promotion was only a matter of time. But upon hearing the content of the test, Jack froze. The test was a mock battle against his father. If Lisa could land a blow, he would pass. Hearing this, Jack immediately panicked. After all, his father's combat value was 94. Lisa had no chance of winning, but he believed in Lisa. On the way to the training grounds, Lisa asked Jack in confusion why he was going to such lengths to help him. After all, Margans were persecuted wherever they went. They only ever suffered oppression. But Jack's answer was simple. He needed Lisa. One day he would become the lord of this land. He hoped Lisa would be by his side to assist him. Soon they arrived at the training grounds. The lord stated that before the sand ran out in the hourglass, Lisa would win if he could land a single hit. With that, the battle began in an instant. Though Lisa was at a disadvantage, he defended himself with methodical precision. Jack was worried about him, but was surprised to hear the crowd gasp. It turned out they too had sparred with the Lord before, but even when he held back, they couldn't last even one move. Yet now this young newcomer had withstood multiple moves without falling, and even more astonishing, the Lord seemed to be going all out. At that moment, under the Lord's fierce assault, Lisa finally failed to block an attack. The hourglass was nearly empty. He was never a true match from the start. Now wounded, winning seemed even more impossible. But all of a sudden, Jack's resolute gaze sparked something in him. Remembering Jack's bold words from earlier, a surge of strength welled up inside him.
ない手だ。
It looked like the Lord had blocked the final strike, but in truth Lisa had won. It turned out that just now, the Lord had a few strands of hair sliced off by Lisa. This revelation caused an uproar at the scene. No one had expected that Lisa would actually pass the test. As promised, the Lord agreed to hire Lisa as a foot soldier. He said this and turned to leave. At that moment Lisa was surrounded by the crowd. After the mock battle, they all began to change their view of Lisa. The next day, Lisa officially started his post. Not only did he become a soldier as Hope, he also took on the role of Jack's personal attendant. All because he wished to devote himself fully to Jack's cause in the future. In this war-torn, otherworldly realm, as a future Lord, he began recruiting all kinds of prodigies from a young age, determined to make a name for himself. The first genius he had set his sights on was now beginning to shine. Lisa, with astonishing talent in both strategy and combat, had advanced in only a few months, to the point that his swordsmanship could rival that of an instructor. After he sought someone to teach him reading, his intellect increased dramatically. Now, he was the most intelligent person in the Jack household. It would be no exaggeration to say he excelled in both brain and brawn. He was once ridiculed for his status as a slave, but now everyone not only holds him in the highest regard, but even many maids secretly admire him. Yet Lisa remained completely unmoved, holding fast to his original intention, to devote his life in gratitude for Jack's recognition of his worth. Jack not only occasionally taught him to read, but also told him about the dire state of the nation. Just as Jack had predicted, the empire's ruling power had completely decayed. The current king was merely an 8-year-old child, and real authority had fallen into the hands of court retainers. Reports of rebellion frequently arose across the land, and war was bound to erupt within a few years. After hearing this, Jack became even more certain that he must use his appraisal skill to gather all kinds of talent. Upon learning of this, his father advised him to seek out individuals skilled in magic, since in the wars to come, magic would be a key force. After all, no matter how strong individual martial prowess might be, it couldn't compare to the wide-scale destructive power of magic. Lisa also suggested Jack go to a bigger city to find gifted individuals, so Jack soon arrived at the central city of the county. According to Lisa, this city's population was 50 times that of their territory, yet Jack was disappointed after using his appraisal. Even with such a large population, finding true talent was clearly not an easy task. No one's talent met his standards, not even a single A rank in sight. However, during lunch, a figure suddenly darted past Jack. By the time he reacted, he realized his wallet was gone. Lisa picked him up in one swift motion, and took off chasing the thief with him. Although Lisa was carrying someone, it didn't slow him down at all. Soon he reached and grabbed the thief's cloak, but when they lifted it, they were both stunned. Neither had expected the thief to be such a beautiful girl. They followed her into a narrow alley, but to their surprise, 3 thugs had cornered the girl. Without a word, one of them punched her right away. Jack was about to ask what was going on, but the thug gave him no chance.
なんだこのガキ。
汚い手でアルス様に触れるな。
だてめえ。
Immediately after, the other 2 thugs were quickly knocked down by Lisa as well. Realizing they were no match, the 3 thugs fled right away. Jack didn't try to stop them, but instead, out of curiosity, activated his appraisal skill. Charlotte's talent shocked him. Not only did she have an astonishing S-level aptitude for magic, but her leadership score was also at 92. What was even more impressive was that, despite being only 11 years old, her martial prowess already rivaled that of his father. Jack had finally found the magic warrior he had been looking for. Realizing this was a golden opportunity, Jack immediately asked Charlotte if she would become his retainer. As soon as he said this, both Charlotte and Lisa were stunned. Lisa was even more confused about why Jack would want to save a thief. However, upon hearing from Jack that Charlotte possessed astonishing magical talent, Charlotte immediately interrupted him. It turned out that until now, she had never used magic before, so how could he know what her talent was? Could someone from a privileged background joke about something like that? She refused without hesitation. Lisa didn't bring it up again either, and simply told Charlotte to return Jack's wallet. Although she was a bit reluctant, Jack and Lisa had just saved her. She didn't want to owe them a debt of gratitude. It turned out, the girl had been sold to slave traders. She had barely managed to escape, but the thugs had relentlessly hunted her down, and the reason they wouldn't let her go.
ほら、私顔がいいから。
Though it left Jack speechless, he still wanted to know why she didn't escape to another town. Before Charlotte could answer, the sight before them gave Jack the answer. The reason Charlotte didn't choose to flee was because she had family here she couldn't leave behind. These people, like her, were homeless orphans. Hearing this, Jack was momentarily stunned. He no longer insisted on Charlotte becoming his retainer. Instead, he took out money to offer her relief. Charlotte accepted it without hesitation. After giving Jack a curious glance, she led the orphans away. That night, Jack still couldn't forget what had happened during the day. He hadn't actually given up on Charlotte. The aid he gave was also to leave a good impression. After all, true talent was so rare. Maybe one day, she would change her mind. Just as he was preparing to look for other talents, the commotion downstairs caught Jack's attention. To his surprise, it was the same orphans from earlier that day. Immediately, Jack asked them without hesitation what had happened.
お前はさっきのシャーロットが捕まっちゃった。
Jack immediately sent Lise to rescue her, though Lise acted alone. As the first genius Jack ever discovered, he had S-rank skills in both strategy and combat. The slave traders' henchmen were no match for him at all. Soon after, Lise took them all down with ease. Seeing things take a bad turn, the slave trader hurriedly ordered his men to stop, to see if there was some kind of misunderstanding, but he quickly realized that the mastermind was just a young boy, and that the goal was to take Charlotte away. The slave trader was instantly enraged, and immediately ordered his men to continue the attack. Seeing the slave trader had even more thugs, Charlotte wanted Jack to run away quickly, but she never expected Jack to remain completely calm, and even coolly said to leave everything to Lise. This scene was clearly seen by the gangsters. They were stunned that Jack was so dismissive of them. Just as one of them was about to make a move, the next second, his body was suddenly lifted into the air. He had been hoisted up one-handed by Lise.
貴様らは何をしたか分かっているのか。アレス様を怒らせた罪、万死に値する。
Seeing this scene, the slave trader hurriedly ordered his magic users to take action, but they never expected that Lise could slice through flames with just a dagger. As all his men fell one by one, the slave trader was forced to play his trump card. It turned out there was a bodyguard upstairs whom he had hired at a high price. Seeing the man's bulky physique, Charlotte felt uneasy, but Jack wasn't worried at all. His appraisal eye had told him that the brute was no match for Lise, but the brute thought Lise looked weak and didn't take him seriously at all.
遅すぎる。
リーチさんとあの人では才能の格が違います。
That move completely took away the brute's ability to fight. Then, after a round of peaceful negotiation, the slave trader dared not act rashly and allowed Jack to take Charlotte away. Charlotte was deeply shaken by what she witnessed, Lisa's overwhelming strength, and the words Jack had told her earlier made her wonder, was her magical talent truly S-rank? When Jack invited her to join once again, this time, she chose to say yes, but before that, she wanted to test her magical talent on the spot. Soon, they arrived at a remote and desolate area. It turned out to be Charlotte's secret base. Not only was the scenery beautiful, but also completely undisturbed by others. After explaining the test method to Charlotte, they began the test. What happened next shocked everyone.
フォールマイグニイラプト
This kind of magical power was something they had never seen in their lives. They were all curious who the caster was. Even the crystal used for talent assessment cracked. Jack and Lise were both stunned by this. They had never imagined that S-rank talent could be this overwhelming. After all, it was Charlotte's very first time using magic. Even Lise had to humbly admit defeat. At that moment, Charlotte asked Jack about the benefits of becoming a retainer. After learning it included food and housing, and even a salary, Charlotte said that she would rather give her salary to other orphans, and only needed food and shelter for herself. Of course, Jack had no reason to reject such a request, and Charlotte felt no more hesitation. Thus, Jack gained his second capable aid. Soon, Jack introduced her to his father, but unexpectedly, his father refused without hesitation, because sending women to the battlefield was too dangerous. So with no other choice, Jack had to let Charlotte show her skills on the spot.
フォールマイグニイラプト
よろしく頼む。
Not long ago, the genius he had discovered had already begun to shine. Charlotte, who had an astounding talent for magic, took only 3 years to earn a reputation on the battlefield as the most powerful magic soldier. This further strengthened Jack's resolve to use his appraisal eye to gather talented individuals. Jack learned of a hunter family with 2 sons who were both highly skilled. He decided to check them out in person. Just as he was about to reach his destination, an arrow hit a moving wild boar. Quick glance confirmed it was the brothers he wanted to meet. Jack immediately activated his appraisal eye and discovered both had A-rank talent in infantry and archery. Jack was quite satisfied. Soon, the group arrived at the hunter's house. The family warmly welcomed Jack. Upon learning that Jack was the son of a lord and intended to take his sons as retainers, the hunter was overjoyed. As they were happily chatting, someone was discovered stealing bread from the table. They initially thought it was a thief, but Jack later learned that it was actually the hunter's 3rd son. As the hunter scolded Russell, Jack again used his appraisal eye and was stunned by the values in front of him. Not only did Russell have multiple A-rank talents, but his strategic talent was actually S-rank. Most astonishing was his intelligence cap of 109. Without any hesitation, Jack decided to make him a retainer, but Russell didn't want to go to the battlefield. Hearing something terrible might happen, he cried and ran off immediately. The hunter hurriedly apologized to Jack. It turned out Russell was unlike his 2 older brothers. He was frail and timid, and not good at chopping wood or archery. But how could a strategist be expected to go hunting? Jack decisively went upstairs to find Russell. He didn't expect that Russell hadn't been crying, but was calmly reading a book. A true genius in strategy indeed. This gave Jack an idea. He invited Russell to his private library. Any book he wanted was available. Russell couldn't resist the temptation, and soon followed Jack to his home. Even though his potential intelligence was extremely high, he was still just 5 years old. So Jack arranged for Lisa to tutor him. Half a day passed, and when Jack returned, Russell Russell had fallen asleep from exhaustion. From Lisa, Jack learned that Russell had been reading the whole time. Not only did he remember everything he was taught, but he could also connect it to deeper meanings. At this moment, Jack appraised him again, and saw that Russell's intelligence had jumped from 45 to 56, but the most urgent task was to restore his confidence. The next day, Jack asked Russell to hunt using traps instead. He encouraged Russell that aside from strength, one could also succeed by using their brain. Although Russell still lacked confidence, he decided to give it a try. Not long after, the summoned hunter was stunned by what he saw. He never imagined there would be so many wild boars inside the pen, and it was all accomplished using Russell's trap. Upon questioning, they learned Russell had used knowledge from a book about boars' tendency to charge at yellow objects, so he built a yellow painted enclosure and successfully lured the boars inside. Once they entered, they couldn't escape. He even made small holes for the piglets to escape, to avoid driving wild boars in the forest to extinction. He had even considered ecological balance. The hunter was the most astonished of all. It was then he realized the foolish Russell had such remarkable ability. If not for Jack, he might never have known. After some thought, he decided to entrust Russell to Jack. He didn't want such a talent to go unnoticed. Russell was finally moved as well. He realized that reading could make a real difference. He regained his confidence. More importantly, he could bring a better life to his family. Jack had once again recruited a great officer, as well as Russell's two older brothers.
よろしくね。
The boy never expected that although his fiancée appeared well-behaved on the outside, her ambition level was actually as high as 80. Being able to see other people's talents was Jack's special ability. At the age of 9, his father told him he actually had a fiancée, but the moment they met, his original expectations vanished into thin air. Thinking about the girl's intentions, it was highly likely she wanted to seize his family's territory. Jack immediately became alert. When Lisha saw Jack staring at her like that, Lisha thought there was something on her face.
とリシア様のお顔が綺麗で見とれていらっしゃるのですよ。
But cuteness alone wasn't enough to reassure Jack, so he decided to wait and see. Along the way, they encountered many residents, who were all curious about the girl beside Jack. After introducing her as his fiancée, Lisha responded with a polite smile. This immediately won the favor of two women nearby. They looked like a perfect match, talented man and beautiful woman, but Jack could only smile bitterly at this. In truth, she was a threat to the territory. Just then, Liz happened to pass by, but the steward called her an inferior race. Yet in the next second, Lisha scolded him sharply. Liz was a warrior of Jack's household. She had earned countless honors on the battlefield. Lisha wouldn't allow the steward's rudeness and made him apologize. Seeing this scene, Jack thought she was hiding her true self far too well, but in the actions and behavior that followed, he couldn't find any fault. As a genius with a political talent level of 100, Lisha excelled at social interaction. If Jack didn't have the ability to assess others, he surely would have fallen for her. Suddenly, a quarrel broke out. It turned out two people were arguing over a magic stone issue. The shop had originally ordered a flame magic stone, but the supplier delivered a shadow magic stone instead. Since it was only a verbal agreement, the argument broke out. As the next lord of the territory, Jack knew he needed to find a way to calm the situation.
できなければこいつ無能ですわ。もうランベルクは私のもの。絶対に失敗できないぞ。
Just as Jack was unsure what to do, Lisha said she had an idea. If she resolved it smoothly, she hoped Jack would grant her one request. Lisha walked up to the two arguing people and offered her solution. Her family would purchase the shadow magic stone, because in her territory, the shadow magic stone was extremely rare, so she would buy it at a higher price. Meanwhile, flame magic stones were abundant in the territory's volcanic areas. She would sell them at a lower price. At this point, she added that it was actually Jack who gave her the idea. Her words completely resolved the conflict. They sincerely thanked Jack, truly worthy of being the next lord. After everyone had left, Jack couldn't help but marvel at Lisha's impressive political skills, but she hadn't forgotten that Jack owed her a favor.
これからする質問に正直に答えていただきたいのです。
はい。
アルス様はどのような人がお好きなのでしょうか。
何その質問。
This made Lisha seem even more unreadable to Jack, but Jack thought that with sheer intelligence alone, he was no match for her anyway, so he decided to be honest. He said he liked people he could share genuine conversations with. The moment he said that, the air grew suddenly quiet. Lisha's reaction left him a bit disappointed. She merely said she'd take it into consideration, then turned and left. Night soon fell. Jack still couldn't figure out Lisha's true thoughts, but tomorrow was the day Lisha would return home. Just as Jack felt a sense of regret, he was surprised to find a surprise hidden under the blanket. Lisha revealed she had sneaked out secretly. The reason she came here was because Jack had said earlier today that he liked girls he could have honest conversations with. It turned out she had a secret ability. She could read people's expressions, to sense their emotions. So when she first met Jack, she instantly sensed that Jack was suspicious of her. But whether she chatted or smiled, Jack's suspicion only grew stronger. She couldn't understand why. Jack confessed that he had the ability to see other people's talents. Because Lisha's ambition was incredibly high, he grew suspicious of her motives. Lisha realized Jack had misunderstood her. She did have ambition.
どんな野心をお持ちなのですか。
言わせるのですか。女が持つ野心なんて素晴らしい男性に見初められること以外ありませんわ。 何かおっしゃってください。
What she said made sense. Marrying a powerful man was the best way for a lord's daughter to survive, but Jack was puzzled, as he was just a noble from a weak territory. She shouldn't have found him worthy. However, Leisha saw right through Jack's thoughts. If her fiancé were an unremarkable man, she would indeed find ways to cancel the engagement. But what she saw was that Jack was deeply loved by his people. This completely changed her previous outlook. Back in her own territory, people put on masks just to gain power and status. Everyone wore a mask. She longed to escape that fake and hollow life. It was Jack who gave her the confidence that even without schemes and manipulation, one could be loved for who they truly are. And that is the irreplaceable strength of a true lord.
私もランベルクの皆様と同じくあなたを好きになりました。
ありがとうございます。
Early the next morning, Leisha departed for home. After all, marriage was something for when they were older. Though reluctant, Jack had no choice but to let her go. From then on, they started exchanging letters. Though they couldn't see each other for the time being, Jack felt content. After their heartfelt conversation that day, he had already placed her in his heart. But just as Jack thought, that life would now go on peacefully. Little did he know that soon after, he would face a serious trial.